Alrighty, YouTubes, we got a new expansion set, which means new commander decks. Now, I gotta start this dive into the Adventures in the Forgotten Realms commander decks by taking a step back. With every new expansion set now bringing new EDH decks as part of the set's release, that means we're having, like 10, 12, even more new commander decks released every year. As a result, I'm being a bit more mindful about what I'm buying and why, and I'm assuming it's got something to do with why you're here or in line with what you're thinking. Or I guess you just really want to know what's going on in these decks, so hopefully this helps you figure out which ones, if any, are right for you. I will touch on the new commanders in each, the pricier reprints you can find in each deck, the new cards that I'm most intrigued by, and then I'll give you a quick overview of what the deck is doing, the pros and cons to it, and hopefully that helps you make the best decisions for your MTG commander needs. Then if you end up wanting to order these, check out Card Kingdom, and I'd appreciate it if you use my affiliate link in the description, just to let them know I sent you. And please hit the like button for the YouTube algorithm because it really does help a lot. Alright, moving on to our first deck, which is Planar Portal. Each precon comes with two commanders that could potentially lead you into battle. For Planar Portal, these would be Prosper Tomebound and Krazakar. Prosper wants us to exile cards, whether they be ours or our opponents, and then play cards from exile, because when we do that, we get treasures to then hopefully cast more spells and keep the chaos coming. Or with our other commander, Krazakar, we want to goad our opponents to attack each other, cause all kinds of mayhem because we're Rakdos, and then dominate our opponents with a lot of ankle biters and keep getting value through combat. One of my new favorite cards from this deck is Death Tyrant, a new card that likes things dying in combat, along with reprints of Chittering Witch and Ogre Slumlord who help us create more tokens and use those tokens to our benefit, or at least make them more difficult for our opponents to deal with. Our most valuable reprint is the only one over $5, and that's Disrupt Decorum. It's around $10, and then anything else over a couple bucks are really the new cards we find in the deck, which would be Lorcan, who helps us steal our opponent's creatures, headed to the graveyard, at the cost of us paying life, and then there's Fevered Suspicion, though quite expensive to cast, gets us free spells from each of our opponents twice. That's a pretty solid value, and definitely going to cause a lot of that chaos and mayhem that you want in Rakdos. Generally speaking, I think this deck seems like a lot of fun if that's a game plan you enjoy, especially if you like winning with what your opponent's game plan was. This is the deck for you. In this precon though, the curve does feel a little high. You want to make sure you ramp early and then hope your commander can stick around for at least a couple turns to get your game plan rolling, because if not, if they get removed, you may fall behind pretty hard in the mid game. Thankfully though, the big spells can bring you back right away, because who knows what goodies your opponent has waiting on the top of their library. If you want a new Rakdos deck, this seems like a fun starting point, but if not, and with there being no huge reprint value here or new cards that have me thinking they're going to be obscenely expensive, I'd err on the side of buying the singles you want rather than the whole deck. Moving on to Aura of Courage, Galea and Storvald are the two commander options here. The name of the deck is Aura of Courage, so that means we're playing and building up big creatures, and auras will be the focus of how we decimate others. Galea seems like the heavy favorite to pilot the deck because casting auras and equipment off the top and getting to attach stuff for free, pretty sweet. We have a bit more reprint value in this one with Pure Steel Paladin, Heroic Intervention, and Utopia Sprawl all being around $7 to $10. The focus of this deck is pretty straightforward. Play creatures early, then house your opponents with beefed up beasts. I just wish there was more Umbra Totem Armor effects, but that would, I guess, probably be a bit too redundant with our last Bant colored commander deck. What I like about this one, though, is that it has more enchantments focused on ramping and locking down your opponent's stuff. Similar to Planar Portal, the new cards in this one don't get me overly excited, and I think if you don't have an Aura equipment deck, that would make this a nice starter option. But if you do, and if you're looking for upgrades, I don't think you'll find much here besides maybe Mantle of the Ancients or Caddy Bree. Those would be the singles I'd look to pick up outside of Galea. But again, if you're looking for that starter Bant colored, you like enchantments and auras, this could be a nice starter deck for you. Alright, next we have Draconic Rage, and it's Gruul, red-green, led by Verondis, Rage of Ancients, and Cloth, Unrivaled Ancient. Oh, and there is Wolfgar of Icewind Dale, so I guess this deck has three options that could pilot it. Verondis I like a lot because he brings Enrage back, but with a dragon focus rather than dinosaur focus, so that's kind of cool. But it's Gruul. I mean, it's big beasts, it can be a lot of fun if you like dragons or creature tribal that gets into the red zone. This one also has some pretty solid reprints with Skyline Despot, Kindred Summons, and Rishkar's Expertise, all of which can translate into good starting pieces if you do want to build on this deck. I like it a bit more than the other two we've seen because it feels like one that is easier and more flexible to upgrade as well. If someone were indifferent about which deck they wanted to buy, I'd say this is where I'd recommend you start. or at least give it a gander first if you seem to like the game plan it's going for. I'm also a huge fan of Tribal. Dragons are awesome. The 2017, I think, Dragon Commander deck was my wife's first Commander deck, so I got a soft spot for ones like this. Also, its slight focus on dice rolling and bringing that flavor from AFR into this, something I like. When you play this deck or any Dragon Tribal, it can easily be one that people overlook early on because you might dirtle or just ramp in the early game, and then as you get towards that late game, it just takes 1 or 2 combats and you win. It's fun like that. It could use a couple more ramp pieces since dragons are a pricey bunch, but as you play it, you will see the cards you do and don't enjoy. And again, I think this one's easier to upgrade than the others. That's something I find fun about Commander. You can build a deck and tune it to match whatever your playstyle is, and I think this one brings a lot of flexibility as well as a solid foundation for you. Okay, and then our last deck to check out is Dungeons of Death, which I say for last because it is the most in line with the spirit and flavor of Adventures in the Forgotten Realms and the venture mechanic. Sephirus of the Hidden Ways helps us venture and then have some graveyard recursion going on. Or Nihilor, a mind flayer who can really cause your opponents to have a bad time by stealing their commanders depending on what they got going on. Yeah, I guess that's kind of what mind flayers do though, right? Again, flavor, win. This deck is all about value. Not so much in the cards we have, although it does seem to be starting off the most expensive precon to buy. Our most valuable card is the Phantasmal Image reprint at around $10. But I think people are more hopeful about the new cards in this one. Some of my favorite would be Phantom Steed or Midnight Pathlighter or Rod of Absorption. And I think these cards will continue to rise in value. They make your deck scalable to compete with what others are doing at the table. And as a precon, that can be easier said than done. But the new cards here really bring good value to whatever else you're doing. The biggest drawback with this one is with it being so focused on venturing, that can make the deck the hardest to tune up if you want more venturing, because we only have AFR to pull spells from, for now at least. Hopefully Wizards gives us more options sooner than later, which would then also add to the benefit or value of this precon. But either way, I like the deck. I like the mechanic, and I think it gives you a unique game plan that you're not going to find in really any other deck. But if you do get tired of it for whatever reason, hopefully you can find cards from this deck that could easily find new homes in other decks. So maybe it's not the most scalable, but I think it's the easiest to piece out and put into other decks that you've already got built. Would I say it's my favorite deck? Yeah, I guess I probably would, because I like flavor more than power level, and I like the venture mechanic quite a bit. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I like it. And this is the least salt-inducing Esper deck I think I've ever seen in Commander, which everyone will appreciate at your table. So would I recommend someone buying one or multiple or all 4 of these? I don't know, I'd just reiterate my earlier point. I'd probably only buy these if you need them for a reason or plan on playing with them ASAP. And if that's the case, awesome, enjoy them and have fun, because Wizards has done a great job at making all precons fun and relatively strong right out of the box. In regard to how I would compare them to other recent precons, I would rank them lower than the Strixhaven precons and in line with last year's Ikoria precons from a flavor and power level standpoint. If you're new to Commander, those are some great options as well. Maybe check them out if you're on the fence about these ones. I think my biggest disappointment in these decks is I do wish there was more reprint value in each. We'll have to wait and see how the new card values do, but I'm not seeing any Dockside Extortionist type cards in these precons that you should be worried about missing out on, and they're just going to explode in value and you'll never be able to find them. And to keep that rant going, I like to keep precons sleeved up and at the ready to play as much as anyone, but that's just becoming unrealistic with how many precons are coming out. And as I was making this video, I realized I've been buying less Magic than I used to because I simply don't have the space or the time to store and get to play with all the cards I'm buying. So I'm just going to keep buy listing cards to Card Kingdom, buy the singles I want, rinse, and repeat. None of these decks are going to be super unique to my collection or be something that I can't already build with the cards I have. So I'll pick up the singles I want, be content, keep enjoying Commander as much as I do. But I think that's going to do it for me, folks. I hope this video has been a help to you in understanding what each deck has going on, and if it makes sense for you to buy them or not. And if you want to help me out, again, hit that like button, buy from Card Kingdom using my affiliate link, check out my Patreon or donation links in the description. Thank you all for watching, and if you do end up picking up any of these, I hope they live up to your expectations. I hope you have a lot of fun with them. We'll see you in the next one, my friends. Peace.